Thank you very much. My name is Trevor Kerr. I work for InvestNI for the Sustainable Development Team. The Sustainable Development Team are typically made up of engineers, mechanical, electrical, chemical engineers. They're all techies. I'm the exception. I'm not a techie. I joined the team about 3 years ago, and my role was very much business development, and it was to grow the bioenergy sector in Northern Ireland. So my focus was very much on business opportunities afforded by this sector, profitable business opportunities, and that's what I've been doing for the last 2 or 3 years. Prior to that, I was involved in mainly fast growth startup companies in the food and engineering sectors for the past 20 years. So in terms of, I have responsibility for the bioenergy sector. So it includes, for example, waste energy, biomass and ADE. And it's very much in case of developing a strategy that not only would attract new clients into the sector, but was also for existing clients. There is no point in attracting companies into a sector unless that sector is growing. 3 years ago, Invest had 12 to 14 companies who were either involved or had expressed a desire to be involved in the bioenergy sector. Today we have about 180. And you'll see it at the back of the room. There actually is a capability register listing those companies and the skills that they have. And very much the brand that I developed was, it was a Northern Ireland brand. It was developing Northern Ireland as a region of bioenergy excellence. Now, how do you do that? Well, part of my role was to highlight the companies within the sector, the projects that they're currently involved with, and the skill sets that they have. Talking to an electrical company last couple of weeks, and they took the decision to diversify into this sector about 4 or 5 years ago. Traditionally, they were involved in construction and quarrying sectors. Those sectors with the downturn, their markets disappeared almost overnight, and they would readily acknowledge they would not be here today had they not decided to diversify into this particular sector. They had the skill sets, they had the manpower, they had the assets, and those skills were easily transferable from their existing sectors into this bioenergy sector. So it is really looking to encourage more companies to do that. So it was developing a strategy in conjunction with our partners, with obviously European Enterprise Network, Questor and DARD, especially from the biomass perspective. And really it was a 3-track approach. It was market research, trade visits and technology transfer visits. And very much our focus is on R&D and new markets. So it was helping companies firstly to look at new opportunities, develop their product, and then sell it locally, but also with the aim of selling it in international markets ultimately. I'm going to probably, with time constraints, skip quite quickly through this and concentrate more on the second half of the presentation. Most of you are fairly aware of what biomass is all about. Biomass district heating, for example, has just been mentioned. Very much a carrot and stick approach, with the stick being the various EU and government legislation that have come forward, with the carrot, if you like, then in the form of the RHI and the ROCs, or Northern Ireland as they are known as NIROCs, and I know Peter will touch on that after. Obviously a growing sector, and in terms of continued growth and sustaining that growth, it was very much looking at a sustainable and secure supply of feedstock, sustainable projects, availability of funding, and really the fact that in Northern Ireland we have fairly generous ROCs has without doubt kick-started the market for us. The key thing there, second from the bottom, cost of technology needs to be reduced and new technology introduced. That is a key focus for us. And it's not just looking at what the technology is now, but also what future technology is. And it's also looking to see how that can be reduced cost-wise. So certainly that's where the research and development side of things, working with Quester, working with Queen's, working with Crest, working with South West College, working with that whole support structure that's available in Northern Ireland to help companies reduce their technology costs so that they can become more competitive on a European and worldwide basis. Various competitions run in Northern Ireland to encourage people in this particular area. At one stage we thought that we were going to go and look and encourage companies to look at the Swedish marketplace and to see if there were tie-ups between Northern Ireland companies and Swedish companies. And we sat back at one stage and said, okay, before we do that, what is the Northern Ireland capability? Where are their particular strengths? So we had to look to see the companies that we had, the components that they manufactured, the skill sets that they had, the equipment that they had, the quality systems that they had in place, their marketing information. So we had to start to look and do a technical assessment on each of those individual companies before we could start to put together the Northern Ireland capability product. So in terms of Northern Ireland, our strengths clearly lie in the sort of component manufacture and service, O&M and decommissioning. So the components that you can see, various fabricated products, walk and floor feeding systems, high precision welded work, precision engineering components, factory lining, and again, touching on the electrical controls, the whole wiring, high voltage, switchgear, grid connection side of things, and then the maintenance and monitoring of systems after they are up and running. And that's a whole developing sector in Northern Ireland as the various plants come on board, up and running. They continually need that O&M maintenance side of things, and that is a whole emerging market within the Northern Ireland sector. In terms of our support, again, I mentioned the technical supply chain. Last year we went to North Germany and Denmark, really to look to see what they had in place and to see if their systems were comparable or better or worse than our own, to see if there were potential tie-ups between Northern Ireland and those particular companies. This year we went to Agritechnica. Agritechnica is probably one of the biggest shows in the world. It's based in Hanover. 500,000 visitors in 1 week, set in 22 different halls. And one of the companies that were with us, well, from a Northern Ireland perspective, you'll probably, it'll still help you put it in perspective. He described it as 22 Balmoral shows on one site. Absolutely phenomenal show. Mainly agriculture based, but 3 of the 22 halls were actually bioenergy. So a lot of biomass and a lot of AD. And certainly it was very interesting from our perspective. And touching on what Duncan said earlier, one of the key themes clearly coming through was the whole biomethane side of things, with the Swedes particularly leading the way in relation to that. And I'll touch on that in a few slides' time. The last 2 years we went to EBIC, European Bioenergy Exhibition and Conference, and had a capability stand, an Invest in I capability stand there, and those were the companies that participated on it. They found the show extremely useful. There are companies that, because they've gone to that show, are now doing hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of business in UK and Europe, and certainly that's what we try to do, is encourage our local companies not just to look at Northern Ireland, not just to look at down south, but to also look at GB and ultimately back into to Europe itself. That was the stand, and again you see the brand, Northern Ireland, the region of emerging bioenergy excellence. And to try and support that whole side of things, we developed a series of case studies. These case studies are on display at the back, but they are of individual projects here in Northern Ireland. So it's not Northern Ireland companies saying we have the ability to do. It is Northern Ireland companies saying we have done and we are currently doing. So you're highlighting their individual capability, you're highlighting the project and its outcomes, but you're also looking at the various other companies that were involved in the supply chain around that big project. So a number of case studies. We also I developed this year a DVD, and we're going to show that now in a few minutes. The DVD tells the story far better than I'll ever tell it. It demonstrates the companies, their capabilities. It shows, from my perspective, what I wanted to demonstrate was, yes, Northern Ireland, a region of bioenergy excellence. We had the old in the terms of Balcas. We had the new and emerging in terms of Alternative Heat, who are here today, and BS Holdings in Belfast. You had the process control guys like IPCE, and then within that you had the support structures of Crest, Queen's, Questor, and hopefully at the very centre of that is Invest NI, driving the sector forward and encouraging companies to look at R&D, look at new market opportunities, because there are profitable business opportunities in this particular sector. This year we did EBEC, Agrotechnica in Germany, and a couple of months ago we were down at AD in Europe, mainly because we see the southern market as, and then hopefully in the next 18 months or 2 years, as being a marketplace in our own doorstep that will open, and because climate's the same, feedstock's the same, systems in Northern Ireland up and running, clearly Northern Ireland companies have a market opportunity, a clear market opportunity. As Duncan mentioned, one of the key things emerging is the use of biogas. Certainly the companies now in Northern Ireland are producing biogas. The next stage is to look to see, can we produce more of it? Can we produce more profitably? Is there alternative use from not just CHP, combined heat and power? And certainly the emerging market seems to be biofuel and biomethane, which is why in June I'm organising a trip to Sweden, bringing about 20 Northern Ireland companies to look at the whole sector out there, how it's developed, is there opportunities, is there synergies, can the research institutes maybe work together, can the businesses work together, and to see how Northern Ireland can potentially benefit from the lessons that the Swedes have already learned. As I mentioned, the case studies, Alternative Heat, and I know the guys from Alternative Heat are going to speak themselves this afternoon. It's on display at the WAC. So is the Tyrone Energy case study, which is a waste energy project up at Strabane Mills project. It's also on display. I'd now like hopefully to get the DVD. The DVD is about 10 minutes long, and hopefully you will enjoy it. Unfortunately, I do have to go to another engagement, but I will be here over coffee. So if anybody's interested in particular in talking to Invest NI, or in particular in relation to the Swedish trip, I'd be more than happy to have a chat with you over coffee. Thank you.